Today, I'm going to explain a horror mystery movie called House of Nine. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens with a series of coordinated kidnappings happening all over central London. A combined total of 9 people, including men, women, and even a policeman on duty, are abducted from various parts of the city. Moments later, these 9 people appear unconscious inside a mysterious house. One of these people, a young woman named Leia, wakes up confused on a bed. She sees a guy on another bed next to hers and cautiously tiptoes outside to investigate. She soon finds 2 more men lying unconscious in another room nearby. Confused, Leia heads to the main door and tries to open it, but to no avail. She also checks the windows, only to discover that all of them are sealed with bricked walls. Following this, Leia rushes downstairs to the basement in search of some sort of exit, but finds none. She begins to realize that there is no escape from this strange house. This realization hits her so hard that Leia soon has a panic attack and collapses on the floor. When she regains consciousness, an elderly priest named Father Duffy is watching over her. Leia looks around and sees that there are a total of 9 people trapped in here. The group is muttering amongst themselves when suddenly they're greeted by a mysterious voice coming out of a speaker. It tells them that they were abducted and brought here to play a game that will be the ultimate test of their character. The person speaking through the microphone refers to themselves as the Watcher and says that this game is purely for their entertainment. It is also revealed that the Watcher is observing them through 75 cameras and countless microphones installed all over the house. Apparently, the winner of this game will be the last person who manages to stay alive. They will not only be granted their freedom, but will also be given $5 million. The voice then wishes them best of luck, and the speaker is switched off. Almost immediately, all the 9 contestants begin arguing among each other. Some people believe the game is real, while others think this is some elaborate prank, but everyone is concerned that 8 of them might die in some way. While the others are busy bickering, a middle-aged contestant named Jay pulls a gun out of his pocket. He exclaims that the situation must be truly serious if the kidnappers let him keep the weapon. Jay notices that everyone is terrified by the sudden appearance of the gun. He thus tells them to calm down and clarifies that he is a cop, but this only enrages one of the contestants named Albie, who reveals that his little brother had been tortured by a group of corrupt white cops. Soon afterwards, another contestant, a Frenchman named Francis, interrupts the argument and shares his conclusion. The Watcher wants them to kill each other. This causes everyone to freak out, but Jay seems to agree with this theory. Therefore, the cop suggests that they need to work together to find a way to escape. The group decides to inspect every nook and cranny for any possible openings or hidden exits. Jay checks the basement floor, while Albie discovers a wooden trapdoor on the ceiling. He uses all of his might to break the door, but discovers that the opening is sealed by a brick wall. While everyone looks around for some exit, a woman named Claire gets her hands on the liquor cabinet and begins drinking. That's it, Claire. Eventually, the group gives up and returns to the living room, where they confront Claire for not helping. Jay also decides to lock up the liquor cabinet since drinking will only make their moods worse. The group then has a talk, and all the contestants swear they don't want to kill anyone. They, however, do admit that they are desperate people who would do anything for the prize money. Suddenly, they hear a thudding sound coming from the kitchen downstairs. They rush to check it and discover there is a small box with some food in it. Their dinner consists of exactly a piece of chicken and 1 boiled potato for each player. What's potato, precious? The group sits in the dining room, and after Father Duffy says prayer, they finally introduce themselves properly. By this time, everyone is aware that Duffy is a priest and Jay is a cop. Leia then reveals that she is a chorus dancer, while Claire is a famous tennis player. She can't be that famous or the rest would know about her. There is also the married couple of Francis, a French artist, and his stay-at-home wife Cynthia. The only black man in the room, Albie, is a rapper because the writers of this are white. Then there is a middle-aged man named Max, who is a fashion designer, while the youngest contestant, Shona, is an addict on parole. In fact, she's got a bracelet monitor on her ankle, which gives the group hope that cops will come here looking for her. After dinner, the group finds out that there are 5 rooms in the house, 2 of which have double beds. Duffy gets a room for himself because he's a priest, and Francis obviously stays with his wife. The other 6 people randomly choose their room partners by picking names. Jay ends up with Leia, Claire is extremely unhappy that she is paired with Shona, and Max gets Albie. Each pair goes to their corresponding room, and moments later tensions begin to flare up. Claire finds Shauna going through her bag, which makes her furious and triggers an argument. Albie practices his rhymes in bed. I'm a token. Where's the weed? I should be smoking. While Max, worried about having only one outfit, hangs his jacket carefully. Duffy takes his time praying, while Leia and Jay share some things about their lives. In the next scene, Francis tells his wife that the prize money is very tempting, but she can't believe he's even thinking about it. Several hours later, in the middle of the night, someone suddenly attacks Jay. The cop is vigilant and reaches for his gun, which makes the intruder immediately run away. Leia also wakes up and tries to help him, but the duo can't see anything because it's dark. The commotion causes all the players to come out of their rooms, and another argument begins. As they point fingers at each other, several baseless accusations are made. Albie is the main suspect because he was quite hostile to Jay earlier. Yeah, that's why. But Father Duffy, being a priest, calms everyone down and sends them to bed. In the morning, the players come to the living room and discover that the house's temperature is going up by the second. Everyone is on the edge, and yet another argument breaks out. Their bickering is interrupted when they suddenly hear noises from outside. Everyone assumes that it must be the police tracking Shauna's bracelet monitor. Hence, they rush to the front door and start banging on it. Only Francis stays back as he is fully aware that they are wasting their time. A desperate Jay fires his gun, but the noises outside fade away and they're left alone again. This incident causes everyone to accept the reality of the situation and lose their last bit of hope. Following this, Jay releases the key to the liquor cabinet, and everyone except for him, the priest, and Leia proceeds to drink. They also start playing some music, a slow and depressing number, which only adds to their misery. Albie then changes it to something more upbeat, and the drunk contestants begin dancing together. Meanwhile, an intoxicated Francis gets away from the group and tries to hit on Leia. She reminds him that he has a wife, and surprisingly, Francis leaves her alone. He then sneaks to his room, still holding a bottle of liquor in his hand. He wraps his bed sheet around the bottle and breaks it to make glass shards that can be used as weapons. Francis then hides one on the door frame and the rest inside the toilet flush tank. Eventually, the group becomes too wasted to keep on dancing, leaving only Cynthia and Albie in the living room. They get increasingly flirtatious and get too close to each other. When Francis comes back, he assumes the worst and attacks Albie for flirting with his wife. A fight soon ensues, and while Cynthia tries to pull them apart, Albie accidentally pushes her. This causes her to hit her head against the railing, and she dies on the spot. Seconds later, everyone else comes back and is stunned to see the sight. Albie tries to apologize, but a furious Jay locks him in his room by putting an iron bar through the door handles. The group then covers Cynthia's body with a sheet and takes it to the basement. For the rest of the day, the players wander around, contemplating their situation. Francis, meanwhile, finds his wife's lipstick and puts it on before kissing the mirror. I wonder if he's going to try to kill someone. In the evening, the players are annoyed to see they've been provided with a reduced portion of just potatoes. Albie begins banging on his door, demanding to have his portion. After lots of pressure from the others, Jay goes and gives him just a tiny piece of potato. Duffy, however, thinks it's unfair and leaves to give more food to Albie. Jay rushes to stop him, but the door has already been opened. A furious Albie then jumps out of the room and pushes the priest aside. He grabs the iron bar and starts hitting Jay without mercy, completely destroying his face. When the rapper eventually snaps out of his anger and realizes what he's done, he hides back in his room. Shortly after, Duffy arrives in the room, and Jay uses his last breath to give his gun to the priest. In the next scene, his body is also covered and placed in the basement alongside Cynthia's. For the next meal, the players receive extra food and wine with a good work note as a reward for killing. Leia and Duffy are the only ones who eat in the dining room. The others have become too paranoid and now start eating alone. Rather surprisingly, Francis takes a huge portion of the food and gives it to Albie. The Frenchman also says he understands that Cynthia's death had been an accident. The scene abruptly shifts to moments later as Leia and Duffy go to check on Albie, but they instead come across his lifeless body hanging from the ceiling with Max's scarf. The news quickly spreads throughout the house and another argument ensues news. Everyone suspects Francis of having sought revenge for his wife's death. He insists that Albie did it to himself, then tries to pass the blame to Max because it was his scarf. Once again, it's Duffy who stops the fight, declaring the whole argument to be pointless. Everyone leaves in different directions as they are wary of each other. Duffy and Leia then take Albie's body to the basement, while Francis continues using the lipstick in private, indicating that he's losing his mind. Sometime later, Claire finds Shauna touching her stuff, and their simple argument escalates into a fist fight. In a moment of madness, Claire grabs the corkscrew from a nearby wine bottle and stabs Shauna in the neck. In another room, Leia is washing her face when Francis suddenly shows up. He rips the light fixture from the wall and dunks it in the sink full of water. Poor Leia is electrocuted, and after several seconds, she collapses to the ground. Meanwhile, Duffy goes to talk to Max and proposes to work together to survive, but the latter is greedy and asks for extra portions of food in exchange. The priest turns him down, saying it wouldn't be fair to the others, but Max ignores him and tries to steal a large portion anyway. "Give me your meat!" This forces Duffy to take out the gun, and eventually Max forfeits the extra food. Following this, Duffy starts guiding Max out of the kitchen, but as they cross the corridor, they find Shauna's lifeless body. This freaks out Max, and he immediately runs back to the kitchen, while Claire, who is huddled up nearby, says the killing was in self-defense. Duffy tries to take her somewhere else, but as they walk past Leia's bedroom, they find her body too. The priest drops to his knees in shock, and Claire uses the chance to run. Moments later, Francis appears and pretends to be surprised that Leia is dead, but Duffy sees through his acts and raises the gun. He initially hesitates to pull the trigger, but when Francis mocks him for being old and feeble, he shoots him in the stomach. Meanwhile, it turns out Leia is still alive as she suddenly regains her consciousness. She comes out just in time to see Duffy shooting Francis. Leia is so scared of the chaos that she immediately runs to hide in Francis's room. While trying to lock herself in the bathroom, she accidentally slips and knocks over the toilet lid. Leia then discovers the glass shards that Francis had hidden in the flush tank. In the meantime, Claire arrives in the kitchen to take some food, only to be startled by Max. The latter agrees to share the food, only if Claire gives him something in return. He begins to take off his belt, implying that he wants to get intimate with her, or that he wants more food. However, in a shocking twist, Max instead uses the belt to choke Claire. Seconds later, an already frightened Duffy arrives in the kitchen and begs Max to let her go. When the lunatic refuses, Duffy is once again forced to shoot, killing Max on the spot. Just then, Francis appears and stabs Duffy in the back with one of the shards that he had hidden earlier. He then takes the gun and shoots both Claire as well as the priest in the head. Unaware of Leia's survival, the Frenchman starts celebrating his victory, shouting at the Watcher and demanding his reward. Upstairs, Leia uses a bedsheet to retrieve a sharp piece of glass. She accidentally drops the tank lid while doing so, and it creates a loud noise. Francis hears it and begins chasing Leia, but she manages to stab him in the leg. She then runs away to the corridor outside and tries her best to get away. Nonetheless, Francis chases her and eventually corners her against the balcony. He then lunges towards her, and they both topple over the railing. The duo falls onto the table below, with Leia landing on top of Francis. To her luck, she manages to accidentally stab him in the chest, eventually killing him. With this, Leia realizes that she has won the game, and the front door opens with a blinding light. She hesitantly steps through it and finds a huge bag, supposedly filled with the $5 million cash prize. As Leia walks forward down the corridor, she crosses another door that closes behind her. On the other side, she finds another house filled with people clutching onto bags just like hers. They all look deeply traumatized, as if they are hollow from the horrors that they have endured. The movie comes to an end as Leia realizes that her nightmare is just beginning. Subscribe for more videos like this.